Hi, welcome to the middle of February, which I thought was the perfect time to finally do my January wrap up. So let's get into it. You already heard me talking about most of these books, but for the sake of a wrap up, let's do a wrap up. The first book that I read in January, not gonna lie, this is fun to take each book out of the shelf, was Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. It's a nice little slice of life sort of book. It's a cozy little book about this girl who has something kind of tragic happen in her love life. Like not that tragic. She has a big betrayal basically, and since the guy that she was with was from her workplace, she decides to also quit her job and she moves in with her uncle who runs a bookshop, and that's the Morisaki bookshop. And these are the days that she spends at the Morisaki bookshop. There are a bunch of characters in this book. Some of them we hear about and then even see. And it's a lovely little book about ordinary people and ordinary lives and taking a pause and then beginning again. And when I read this, I wanted to find something that would give me solace about not knowing what your next step is. And this isn't exactly that, but it's still a nice, cozy little read. And I did enjoy it. So, this. And then, let me put it back. The next thing that I read was a trilogy, which is the Atlas 6 trilogy. Um, I read the Atlas 6, the Atlas Paradox, and the Atlas Complex by Olivia Blake. I hope they're in frame. Um, I'm sure you've seen these, and so on and so forth. Right. So I read the Atlas 6 trilogy. And the reason that I read that series was because I wanted to jump into a good fantasy. Turns out that while there is magic and magicians and whatnot in this book, it reads more like a dark academia. Like I finished this series. Last time I checked in with you guys, I told you guys that the second book ended on a lot of build up, and I was expecting the third book to be full of a lot of action packed moments. It wasn't. But it wasn't a complete disappointment. Like the moment I finished this book, true, I was a little low because I needed a fantasy. But then I had literal dreams about this series the entire night, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's when I realized that I had gone into the series hoping for a fantasy, but it was actually a dark academia book. And it reads like one. The messaging is like that. There are themes about like the inherent elites. The themes are about the inherent elitism and classism related to how knowledge is procured, stored, shared, whether it should be or shouldn't be distributed, and how knowledge can be the greatest thing that you have, but it can also corrupt. There was a lot, but basically, again, this was another book that I went in expecting something and got something else. And after reading these four books, I was feeling pretty disappointed. Not that these were bad books in any way, but these just weren't what I was trying to read them for. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So then I read a palette cleanser, and I read something that I knew would just make me like happy, and it did. And the funny thing is, the silliest book that I read in January was the only one that I gave 5 stars. This is Pride and Prejudice and the City by Rachel Lippincott. And this is a book about a 17-year-old girl who gets transported into Regency era England. It literally says, what if your soulmate was born in the wrong century? 17-year-old Audrey has lost her spark after a break. When she's transported through time, she is determined to experience a Regency romance. Lucy is desperate to avoid a potential suitor. When Audrey lands into her life, claiming to be from the future, she agrees to help her. But instead of falling for their own bachelors, they fall for each other. With time running out, can their love story survive the impossible? So, this was really cute. I actually randomly stumbled upon this book at the airport one time in 2023, I believe. And I finally was able to pick it up and read it. And this was everything I needed. It was cheesy, it was cringy, it was cute, it was about teenagers. So it was like really adorable. The slow burn was slow and all of that. And yeah, this was one book that I was really glad to have read in January, because it was finally something that was what I was craving and that was what I expected. So these are the five books that I read in January, and that's it. That's this video. It's really small, it's really short, and I'll see you in the next video. Let me put this away. Bye.